Hi everyone, today we're going to create this super cool tunnel animation and we're going to learn a lot of new tricks and tips along the way. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so first let's create a new full HD composition. We can call it master comp and let's set the duration to 20 seconds. And before we move on, I just wanted to give you a quick heads up about the new course I'm working on. This time I decided to teach you how to create different types of transitions that will help you create better explainer videos, product animations or YouTube documentaries. Because knowing how to prepare and animate transitions is the #1 skill for every motion designer. So join the waitlist to get a special discount when it's out. And if you are serious about your career, you can invest in my motion bundle deal and get an even better discount on the new course when it's out. Of course, along with all the bonuses you're getting with the motion bundle. Here is the comment I got from one of my students, Nikita. So these courses really can help you achieve your goals, so don't put off your success to another day and start learning After Effects the efficient way. The link is in the description. Alright, back to the tutorial. Let me close this panel real quick. And now let's create our first shape, and we will do it by double clicking on the rectangle tool. Now let's turn on the fill color for the shape and set the color to a dark gray, something like this. Then let's turn off the stroke. You can leave it if you want, it doesn't matter. And finally let's set the roundness for the shape to, let's say, 100. Now let's create a scale animation for this shape. So let's set the first keyframe with the value of 0. And then let's say after 2 seconds, let's set the value to 120. 120, it's important because the shape needs to be over our frame. And finally, we can select those keyframes and easy ease them. And then using the speed graph editor, we can create this kind of motion. So it will start slowly and then accelerate towards the end. Yeah, that looks cool, and we can move on to the next step. And the next step is all we need to do is duplicate this shape a few times. You can duplicate it as much as you want. I prefer to duplicate it 7 times, so in total I will have 8 shapes. Next, let's select the first 7 layers, and now all we need to do is to delay each layer 5 frames from each other. So we will drag all these layers to the frame number 5. Then we need to unselect this layer and then move the selected layers 5 frames forward, and we need to do it until the last of the layers. You can save some time by downloading this already animated project file. The link is in the descriptions below. Okay, and now select each layer and brighten the color a bit for each one of them. Color all of them in gray colors. And later I will teach you how we can change all these colors at once with one effect. So keep changing the colors, but stay around the gray colors only. So each one needs to be a little brighter than the previous one. Keep in mind that you can choose any other colors. You don't have to do exactly like I am. But if you want to learn how to change the colors later on with one layer, you should stick to color the layers only in gray colors. And there it is, we starting to get the illusion of the tunnel. And now to make the tunnel last a little longer, we can duplicate all those layers. So press Ctrl or Command D to duplicate all those layers. And now let's place them above the layers we already have and move them to start from second number 1. So this will be our main tunnel animation. And now let's create another tunnel animation so we can make it play in the endless loop. Then we will combine those two tunnels animation in our master comp. So let's see what I mean. First, let's select all these layers and pre-compose them in a pre-comp. We can call it tunnel 1. Just make sure both are selected and hit OK. And now let's duplicate this pre-comp from the project panel so we can make changes in the new comp without affecting the first one. And in this comp we will make the tunnel play in the endless loop. And for this we need to find a starting point to look exactly like in the ending point. So in our case we need to place the time indicator when we see all the shapes in the frame. In our case we can place the time indicator at second number 1 and 25 frames. And now we need to start the timeline from this point in time. So for this we need to press B and it will start bring the workflow area to this point in time. And now let's move forward in the timeline and try to find a frame that looks exactly like this one. So it is here in the 3 seconds and 5 frames. So now let's shorten the workflow area to this point in time from its end. So let's press N. Alright, so now when we hit the spacebar to see the preview of the animation, as you can see, the animation looks like it's playing in the endless loop. It starts and ends exactly the same. Actually, almost exactly the same. Pay attention to this point in time when the animation like starting in our loop, we see additional rectangles in this area. So in the last frame of our loop we don't see them. So to fix this, all we need to do is we need to duplicate our 8 layers once again and bring them to upwards and delay them in 5 frames. And this how we can get a nice actually looped animation without any problems. So now when we have the perfect loop, we can right click on the workflow area and trim this the unnecessary parts, so we stay only with the part of the timeline we selected. And we are ready to move on to the next step when we combine both of the tunnel animation we have. And now let's create an outro animation for our first tunnel pre-comp, which is not the loop one, because we want to use this pre-comp as a transition to other scenes that can come after the tunnel sequence we are creating here. So to make the tunnel in this pre-comp to actually end, so we can use it as a transition, all we need to do is we need to select the first layer and we need to change its blending mode to silhouette alpha. This will make this layer to act like some kind of a mask for all the scene and for the layers that below it. So now we can select this layer and press U to see when its animation ends, and then we can press N to bring the workflow area to end here, and we can trim this timeline so we don't have an unnecessary parts in our timeline. Let's see how that looks. Alright, so let's go back to the master comp and learn how to combine between those two pre-comps that we created. So first let's turn off the second tunnel, the looped one for now. And now let's find the point in time for the first tunnel, so it will look exactly in the point in time how our looped one starts. So you remember it's when we see the darker frames here, like this, in this area. It was in the second one and 25 frames. So let's place the time indicator here. And now let's click Alt and the right bracket to crop this layer from its end to this point. Crop this one frame that remains. And now let's place the looped pre-comp above this one and then move this pre-comp to start exactly from this point in time. Yeah, that looks great. So now if you want the tunnel to continues playing, all you need to do is you need to duplicate the looped pre-comp and start it to be after this one. So to end all this sequence of the tunnel animation, we need to duplicate this pre-comp, which is not the looped one. And now we can place it above all the pre-comps. And now we need to crop this pre-comp from its beginning. So it starts from this point in time. So now the looped pre-comp, its final frame look like this. And the first frame of the not looped pre-comp look exactly like this, and it creates a continuously motion in the sequence. Just in case you want to make the tunnel animation last a bit longer, just duplicate the looped pre-comp one more time, place it here, and combine the last pre-comp to finish this sequence as we did earlier. So let's see how all looks together, and don't forget to subscribe if you're enjoying this tutorial. Great, so we have a nice sequence with the tunnel animation that starts and ends with a transparent background, which is great because below this pre-comp you can start your next scene or put some text or stuff like this. Alright, so we're done creating the tunnel sequence, and now we're ready to create some flying object in this scene. In this kind of scenes, I prefer to create a new pre-comp by Control N and add the object in this pre-comp in case I want to change the object later in the animation. And now let's select the ellipse tool and double click on it to create new ellipse in the scene. Let's color it in white for now. This is not important because we're going to use the looped pre-comp of the tunnel that we created to create an illusion of the reflection of the tunnel. So let me show you what I mean. So you can press S and scale it down if you want. And now all we need to do to make the illusion of the reflection is to set it as a alpha matte for the our sphere we just created, which means the tunnel pre-comp will be visible only in the form of this sphere. So now we need to shorten the workflow area to the end of this looped animation, and before creating the reflection effect you can play around with this pre-comp to place it as you want, like you can rotate it, you can change the position of it, and try to create something interesting. And then let's search for the fast box blur effect and apply it to our tunnel pre-comp. Let's set the blur radius to 30 and see how that looks. Alright, so we're getting some kind of a gradient animation effect, and now I actually want to rotate this back to 0 and I want to scale this pre-comp a little bit, so let's say to 80. Place it up here. No, I think 90 maybe. I just trying to create some nice reflection illusion using this pre-comp we already have. Alright, I think this one looks very nice and I'm good with that, and we can continue to the next step, which is integrating this sphere animation in our master comp with the entire tunnel sequence. But before that, let's trim this timeline. Awesome, and now we have a looped pre-comp. That's great. Now we can go to the master comp and bring this pre-comp in it. First thing first that we need to do is to make sure this pre-comp plays in endless loop. For this, go to the end of this pre-comp, right click, go to time and click on enable time remapping. Now go back one frame and create a new keyframe. Then delete the last keyframe we have here. Now let's hold Alt and click on the stopwatch of the time remap property to open the expression panel. Now let's open up the ready-made expressions we have here in the property menu and select the loop out cycle expression. And now all we need to do is just to extract this pre-comp to the end of the timeline, and as you can see we have the sphere playing in the endless loop. And now let's improve the look of the sphere we have here by right click on this pre-comp, go to layer styles and add the inner shadow effect. Let's set the color to white and now set the opacity to 100, and to see the white color change the blending mode to screen. And now let's just play around with all the properties like size, distance and rotation to make it look like we have some kind of highlight in the bottom part of this sphere we have here. Alright, I think it looks very nice. So now we are ready to color our whole sequence, and let's learn how to do it using one effect only. This is a very simple process. Let's start with this pre-comp tunnel 1, so enter it. And now all we need to do to change the color of the entire scene we have here is to create a new adjustment layer. Let's change the name to color, and now search for the toner effect and then apply it to the adjustment layer. And now all you need to do is to change the color that you have in the midtones property. So you can change the color to any color you want. I will choose this purple color, it looks nice. And now to apply this color to the entire scenes, let's copy the adjustment layer and then enter the tunnel 2 pre-comp and paste the adjustment layer here above all the layers we have. The sphere will also be colored in the purple color, of course, because the sphere is actually, we are seeing the tunnel 2 pre-comp here. So it's automatically updated. And as you can see, all the sequence looks very nice in the purple color. All we need to do now is to create an animation for the sphere, and to make it look like a randomized animation, I decided to separate the position property dimensions, so I can create a wiggle expression for each axis. And then I will also create a scale animation, alright, for the pre-comp. And once again, if you are enjoying this tutorial, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I will really appreciate it. Alright, so now we can set this animation to play in endless loop using the loop out expression. And finally, I created an intro animation for this pre-comp of the sphere, and the outro animation using the Y position axis of the position property of this pre-comp. Then I easy ease the keyframes I created. And after checking that the intro and the outro looking alright, then I timed the outro animation with the outro animation of the tunnel, so it will look like the tunnel ends and the sphere like going out of from the tunnel, something like this. Now to create a little bit more interesting look, we can enter the tunnel pre-comp that we have here, and we can select all the layers and activate the motion blur effect to it. And of course don't forget to activate this function from here as well, so it will work. And now as you can see, we have some nice blurry motion effect in the scene. And if you want to scale the motion up or scale it down, all you need to do is press Ctrl or Command K to enter the composition settings panel. And then you need to go to the Advanced tab and change here these functions that you have, like the shutter angle. Now let's do the same with the second tunnel animation we have here, which is the looped one. Just note that activating the motion blur function will make a very hard time for your computer to preview and render the scene. So don't rush and activate this function if you don't have a good computer. And to finish things up, we can create a new adjustment layer for our entire sequence in the master comp and add the CC lens effect to create a nice and curvy edges look to the scene. I think it looks very nice, so you can have it too. And with this, we have finished the tutorial. Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I hope to see you in the next one.